Okay, folks, welcome to Smart Living. It's been a while since I've done a podcast. I'm feeling a little bit rough. But today we were talking about consignment. That's another great way to save money when it comes to decorating your house. And so I have the owner of Airpark Consignment. Her name is Teresa Easterly. Did I get that right? Easterlin, yes. Who I'm excited to have this. So she's been doing consignment for 15 years. She's an expert, and she can give us some tips on how we can decorate our home for cheap. So welcome to the show, Teresa.
Thank you for having me, Daphne.
I am so excited to have you. You know, we've got this beautiful, I love it whenever we have female owners, because you guys know I'm all about lifting up women. So welcome, and tell me all about your consignment store.
So we have a consignment store that has been established in the Scottsdale area for the last 24 years called Airpark Consignment. Mm-hmm. And what we specialize in is in fine home furnishing at affordable prices. My goal in working with this store and in taking over the store is to always keep our prices extremely low and competitive, but to still provide a decent profit for the people who are consigning, because really, they're the ones that are giving up all of this really beautiful stuff. But I always also want to make sure that when our customers are coming in there, they're able to get great design ideas. I do a lot of vignetting in the store, and that they're getting stuff at incredible prices.
Okay. When you say vignetting, explain that to me.
So I like to kind of create little spaces that might represent what your home or your apartment might look like. It might be a desk with a sofa and a coffee table and the chair, and what kind of plant might be in the corner, and the artwork that's on the wall. So I do that throughout the store, so when people walk in, it feels a little bit more boutique-y, and it feels like the way it would if you were going into a stage home.
Got it. So it's not like just a pile of stuff when you come into the store. No. Everything is totally staged, so you can kind of get the idea.
Yeah, and that's crazy, but I do that.
Right. Well, which I love, because like when you go to Macy's or something, exactly. I like to shop at Macy's because they have their clothes on display. Sometimes it's hard for me to envision what it would look like.
Absolutely.
So that's great. So it's very organized in your store. It's not just a pile of stuff.
Absolutely.
Now, tell me, we're going to talk about decorating on a dime, but I do want to talk a little about your store here. So being a consignment store, you actually do accept items from people and it sells in your store. Is that how that works?
Absolutely.
Because sometimes they have consignment stores where it's like, it's almost like consignment, but then they don't accept your stuff, and they do, and it's super confusing. I don't get it. So,
well, the consignment process, and I always tell people, always remember, when you're consigning, it's nothing personal. Every consignment store that I've worked with or been to, everybody has their special look or their special style or their special design. And that's why you have choices when you are consigning. And it's the same thing when you are shopping. Kind of shop the stores that kind of cater to your style. Mm-hmm. And so there's so many different styles, especially living here in Arizona. You have so many people who come here from so many different states. Mm-hmm. And you have people, a lot of times, people who come here from other states, they want the Arizona feel. But then you have a whole different demographic of people who are coming here. They just want current. Instagram and has taken us to a completely different level of showing what we can do with our spaces, the DIY and all of that type of stuff. So people are exposed to a lot more, which means they want more. And so what I try to do in my store is try to curate what would be considered like transitional modern is what we call it. So what it is it's not necessarily it's what's happening in stores right now. So like if you go to Restoration Hardware, if you go to Crate and Barrel, if you go to West Elm or Our House, it's the kind of things that you're still seeing in those stores.
Okay. So it's contemporary, modern stuff specifically. So as a consigner, if I have these type of things and this is my style, this would be a store that I would come to.
Great store.
Now, I know we're going to talk about the consumer, but what is if I can ask you, and it's okay if not, but as a consigner, what's the percentage that you get back?
It's a 50-50 split.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And I do a 120-day contract, which you'll find in the market, that's actually a little bit longer than pretty much anyone will do.
Okay.
Most of them are 60 to 90 days. I want to go a little bit extra because I feel like if I've committed to bringing your stuff in and you've paid to have it brought in and you've taken that, I'm going to do my best to get it sold. And
Okay.
sometimes it may take a little bit longer. And I don't like for people to feel like, well, in 90 days, what am I going to do with it? Or whatever.
Right. Well, usually, will you just donate it for us if you don't
We
want
will.
it? Okay.
We will. But I will also, if I feel like it's something that should be extended, I'll extend the contract.
Oh, that's great. So if you think that's something you could sell, you just haven't gotten the right person in? Okay.
One person, I just need one person to come through the store that's looking for exactly what we have.
That's great. Now, for the end of the consumer, those of us that come in
Yeah.
to actually shop,
Yeah.
so are your prices competitive?
My prices are extremely competitive. If anything, I feel like I like to price a little bit lower than my competitors because I still am able to make money for the store and for my customers. But I also want people to know when you come in here, you don't need to negotiate the prices. I will put on my tickets how much things are originally. I had a sofa that came in that was a woman who had spent $14,000 to have a custom-made leather sofa.
Wow.
We brought it in at $3,000.
Okay.
Where are you going to find a custom-made leather sofa that was probably like 109 inches? It's a big sofa for that amount of money.
Right.
You know, we've got it. It's actually on sale right now. We've done a little bit of a markdown. We do that after things have been on the floor. But you're finding my discounts are always going to be extremely competitive as far as what my competitors do.
Okay. So we've got, you can make money if you want to consign.
Mm-hmm.
You extend it to 120 days. Yep. And then you also keep in mind for the consumer that's buying.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about decorating on a dime.
Absolutely.
Now,
Love it.
I will say I recently bought a house about a year and a half ago, and it's like a 3,000 square foot home.
Ooh, big.
And we had no furniture. We got rid of all of our furniture. And we wanted to start new.
Yeah.
And we have a mid-century modern home.
It's very popular.
Right. So decorating on a dime. So I've gone to some consignment stores.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to like Nellis Auction to buy some furniture. Yeah. And then I also go to Facebook Marketplace to buy some stuff too.
Excellent place.
Okay.
And I feel like you're doing the right thing because I always tell people, you know, we can't be all things to all people. I'm not going to get everything that you want. But there are so many wonderful options, like you said, like Facebook Marketplace, you know, like these other options where if you have an idea of what you want, and I always tell people, have an idea of the look that you want. Mm-hmm. And then try to stick with it because you start shopping at these consignment stores, trust me, they'll come in sometimes and it'll be like, oh my goodness, now I'm going in this direction. I love that. You know, you can't have everything.
Right.
But have an idea of what you want. And then if you are just willing to be, and I always say, if you want to save money, you got to be patient.
Okay.
That's the key. You want to save money, be patient because it's out there. It's going to be out there. There's so many places that you can look for it. You will find it on a dime. And then figure out what your budget is going to be.
Right.
You know, that's another thing. You can find almost anything to fit your budget. And you may even go into, sometimes I'll go into Target and I'll look to see what they have on clearance.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, because, you know, they keep up with all the trends. They have all these like little mini vignettes that they'll do in their store where they'll bring in something from like Magnolia Home or something like that. And then it'll get marked down and you'll find like a really cool piece of art that sets a mid-century tone or a really cool table. You know, look for things that kind of set the tone. You don't have to be so strict about a particular style. Mm-hmm. I feel like people sometimes get caught up in that. I think what's important is that you find something that you love. Mm-hmm. You're happy about what you paid for it.
Right.
And it speaks to your personal style. Those are the three things that I always stress when anybody's doing any type of designing for their home. Stick with those things.
Okay.
Those are the most important things.
I love it. Okay. So with consignment, now we always think like, you know, you can save a lot of money. Yeah. And you're right. I love how you said being patient. But sometimes you can't be patient.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So being that your consignment store is pretty much like furniture stuff, what are some hot items that people are currently buying right now that's like really trendy that you can get in your store for a cheap price?
Nightstands and patio.
Oh, wow. Boy, and you didn't even hesitate on that answer.
I'm telling you, it's crazy how this is what happens. We have people that'll come in, it's Murphy's Law, people look for the same thing at the same time, always.
Right.
Right? Right now, if I get any kind of bedroom, people want queen-size beds, specifically right now.
Really?
Yeah, specifically. I would say one out of every, you know, 3 people that come in, they're specifically looking for a queen bed or nightstands or both. or patio.
Okay.
And
Patio's always hot.
Yeah, patio's hot, but it's hot this time of the year because obviously the weather changed.
Yeah.
And people are kind of like, well, maybe we could get out there and dust off some of the old stuff that we have. So, yeah, absolutely. Nightstands are really popular right now. I don't know why.
Okay. So when you take in items, now, okay, furniture can be very subjective when it comes to pricing.
Absolutely.
So how do you know how to price things? So for example, let's take a nightstand, okay? Now there is nightstands that are made with particle wood. Very rarely do I see nightstands that are made with solid wood nowadays.
Yeah.
So how do you know how to price that nightstand?
All right. Well, this is my process. I always want to start off, no matter what, knowing what something retailed for. So I do my research.
Okay.
The apps on the phone are great. Google search is wonderful. Take a picture, I can find it. So
Right.
I know where to start, a jumping off point. And
Okay.
that's what I always let people know, because when people are asking me about prices, first thing I'm going to tell them is, this is what this sold for.
Right.
Just so you know, this is influencing my prices. But for the most part, like, there are certain things that are way more popular and you can get a lot more money for.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for instance, bar stools.
Okay.
All furniture is really expensive retail. Everything is so high right now. But bar stools in particular, the ratio of how much they've gone up compared to what it was 10 years ago is extremely high.
Really?
Patio furnitures. I mean, you're paying more for a bar stool than you would for a dining chair. It's nuts. So what I do is I look at where it was, what brand it is, because there are certain brands that are still really popular. People know them, and they're willing to pay a little bit more money.
I'm going to ask you what brand those are.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I also do my best to try to educate, because I work with a lot of people who work with designers, and designers work with brands that a lot of people off of the street do not have access to, because they don't have brick and mortar stores.
Right.
So they're ordering, from the manufacturers and that type of thing. So there are brands like Four Hands, which is hugely popular. It's a company out of Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful furniture. Extremely expensive.
But why is it good quality stuff that they're making?
No, it's like anything. It's like buying a Louis bag.
Okay, it's
is
just
it really
what's in.
is it really worth that? But you're buying a lot of it as the name.
Okay.
Right. Uttermost is another one that a lot of designers work with. We get a lot of it in, and so I have a tendency to push a little bit on those prices, but still, I'm probably 70% off of retail. And then the other thing that I look at, you have to look at condition. And it's just like I always tell people, it doesn't matter if it's a Mercedes, if it was in a front-end collision, no one's going to pay.
Right, that's right. Absolutely
so
right.
It's got to be in great condition, everything, because my customers are picky.
Okay.
They're very informed, and they have so many choices. Like, I'm from Minnesota, and we didn't have this as many choices in any type of consignment, be it furniture, clothing, or anything like that we do here. So people have choices. If they've come to my store, guaranteed they've been to at least 2 or 3 other consignment stores. So they get to go around and they get to look, and they try to, okay, they have this is the good condition. They look my stuff over with a magnifying glass. They want it to be good. So I do the same thing. I always let my customers know. The big thing is that people are going to pay based on condition. So that's a big factor in how I price. So
you inspect a lot. You inspect everything.
Everything. I mean, I take the time. I take the time with my furniture, and my store reflects that, because I'm curating very specific things. Sometimes you might have a whole house full of furniture that's beautiful, great brand names, that type of thing. But like if it's a little too Tuscan, or if it's a little too Southwest or something like that, where I don't have a big market for it, yeah, I might have a person that comes in the store that would buy that one thing. But I also had to decrease my floor space there. So I'm working with limited floor space. And so I just kind of, I hedge the odds toward a favorable sale. And so when you're coming into my store, you're kind of finding pieces that I've seen that people have, and I'm doing my best to bring it in good condition and have it be great styles and have it be current. But I also keep in mind that as a designer, people mix stuff. You may have something that was passed down from your grandmother that you've hung onto forever. It doesn't mean that it's not something that could create a very current and attractive space. It's just a matter of how you use it. And there's a lot of repurposing going on, taking an old China cut, China hutch, and turning it into a very cool bookshelf or a bar or something like that. Think outside. And that's another thing that I always tell people. Sometimes you'll see something in the magazines. Our house might have some sort of beautiful cabinet. go to some of the antique stores, maybe even go to garage sales or that type of thing. Kind of look around, because you might be able to find the same thing, and maybe with just a little bit of work, maybe just painting it black or something like that so it has a current color or feel. You can create something that you would buy in the stores for like $3,000, and you may get it for $150.
Oh, yeah.
Garage sale.
I know. Listen, back in the day when I was starting out, when I had a young family and I was a young woman and I didn't have no money, I would go into the trash can. I was a total dumpster.
Yeah.
Hang on just one second, Mike. These cameras keep on turning off for one reason or another. Sorry to distract us.
No, that's all right.
It's fine. If it doesn't go back on, we're good.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like I've repurposed a lot of things. I mean, that definitely is something that my brand is all about. Smart Shopper. Smart shopping is about empowering yourself, meaning that I want to teach people not to spend money and to do things more for themselves so they spend less money. And so consignment is definitely a thing.
Consignment is it.
Yeah,
Consignment is
it
really
is.
it. And it's amazing. Like even I'll look out in our parking lot and we'll look at the different people who are pulling up, and it's not just something that people who are, really super budget conscious who don't have the money to spend. It's people who are just smart shoppers, and they're going to come in there and they're like, why spend that money on a brand new sofa when you could maybe take a cruise with the difference that you would pay.
Exactly.
And there's still so many people out there who, they decorate their homes beautifully. They have amazing stuff. And when they're done with it, they're done with it. It doesn't mean that it was overly used. A lot of times they're going from, 4,800, square feet down to, 2,000 or something like that. Pieces don't fit anymore. There's so many reasons why people consign, and there's so many reasons why people shop consignment. We have a lot of folks who have children who are, going into college or their first home or all those types of things. There's a huge segment of people who are really savvy about the consignment world. So that's why I'm so excited to be in it right now.
Right. Well, you've had a lot of experience because you moved here 15 years ago and you've been working in consignment stores, learning the industry here in Arizona. Then you finally pulled the trigger and bought your own shop. Now, how long have you owned Airpark Consignment? Airpark
Consignment. April 1st.
Okay, so almost a year.
Yeah.
So how has it been being a business owner?
It's been challenging. But you know what? I love it. And every day when I wake up, the great thing is I look forward to going to work.
That's wonderful.
Love the people
That's
who
the
come in
most
there.
important
Right?
thing.
Right? And it's true. I do. I look forward to the people who come in. You develop relationships with these people. I even have shoppers who come in and they call it their shop therapy.
Okay.
They're not necessarily even going to buy anything, but they love coming into the store. They love to see what's changed, what's new. They
and
get
just
inspired.
Get some ideas. Yes, exactly. So now you were saying that your store is it's a little bit hard to find. Now anything in the Airpark Park, in Scottsdale Airpark Park, is hard to find. But you're kind of off the road. Aren't you on the main strip? If I went down, Redfield? And then aren't you somewhere?
I am.
You're right off of Redfield, right?
I'm right off of Redfield. I'm literally at the end of the block off of Redfield, but we're right before you get to Hayden. We're on 79th and Gilding. We're on the corner. And so you have to kind of know. I put a big yellow umbrella out in front of my store so that if you kind of look, you can kind of see the umbrella and you know that it's out there. And I try to put some furniture out there too so
people get an idea.
But yeah, it's not a place that if you weren't looking or knowing that it was there that you'd know, because the Airpark is still somewhat industrial.
Very much so.
Right?
They've changed nothing about it.
They're very limited. They don't allow you to put out signage or anything like that or flags or that kind of thing. They want to keep a tight hold on that right now. So we don't have a lot of options for doing things that, as far as signage or trucks or anything that you can put out to let people know that you're there. So my goal is to just do what I can to kind of get the name out there even more. There's so many people who are moving here. This state is growing by leaps and bounds.
Oh, it is. It's crazy, which I'm just like, I don't understand because it's so hot to live here for 6 months of the year, but that's okay. I know it's colder in other places, like we said, because you said you're from Minnesota. I was like, Minnesota, but it's cold and it's hot here, but I would say that warmth might be better than coldness.
For some people.
Yeah.
I mean, like you're thin like me. You probably get a little chilled.
I get way too cold in the cold. I definitely prefer the warmth and I feel more comfortable that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, my sister and I, we go back and forth all the time here. I'm talking to you. She's like, I don't know how you can stand it in that oven. And I'm like, yeah, but you're inside and you had to have someone shovel your car out and the black ice and the, 31 below zero windshield. I don't need that.
Right.
I don't need that.
You just have to avoid the heat.
Yes, and you can. It's easier
Right.
to avoid the heat.
It is. It is. Well, Teresa, it was so wonderful meeting you, and I
Oh,
appreciate you
absolutely.
taking the time to come
Absolutely.
down.
Thank
And
you,
if you
Daphne.
guys want to get a hold of Teresa, it's called Airpark Consignment. It's off of Redfield, just west of Hayden. You can look it up. Check out our store. I'm sure you'll find some great deals. I know I'm going to go there, and I might be dropping off some bar stools that I have,
There
which
you
I didn't
go.
tell you I had. So you guys can check out my blog at smartshopperdaphne.com. And don't forget, I'm Daphne Monroe, your smart shopper.